We loop that and just have it underneath the entire podcast.
Yeah.
It's like the pause menu on a really shit kart game.
I'm wondering if it'll be like, it will like pass through the annoying stage and become almost like comforting.
I can't think of an example of anything in life that I have that experience with.
A fan or air conditioning unit.
I don't think I'm very good at passing through annoyance. I think if I'm annoyed, I'm very, very rarely get over annoyance. To come round, to then enjoy it is quite a. That's why many, there's quite a lot of video games don't click with me because it annoys me, and I don't give it any time of day.
There's no MLP this week. What's happened? What's going on?
I know, man. Well, we haven't had a new one. Someone said on Twitter that they were gonna tell 5 people about it, but then never followed through and said they had done it. So we're going to play Keaton. I think what we should do is we keep playing Keaton's jingle until someone becomes a new MVP and takes the throne off them. So the annoyance of having to hear the same jingle every week is the incentive for people.
Do you want me to loop that under the entire pod?
Mister. Just those 2 words. Yeah, great. A lot of stuff going on in the world at the moment, Mark. Also, like, how do like leaks happen in the video game world? Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't really know. There are people that are just like on Twitter who are just known for leaking, and then they get a reputation for either being accurate or not.
Big time.
But I don't know where they source their info from.
Yeah. I follow quite a few.
Because a lot of leaks.
I think, well, as in, like, they'll probably have like sources within various like companies that they trust, but then like, why are the people within the companies like? Because obviously, a lot of leaks can sometimes be like people are digging for like domain names that people have filed for, or like patents that people have filed for. But like to have like super detailed information about something, I just don't get how that's getting out there.
Some of it will be just like mates of people or people like friends within interlinking industries sort of lubing each other up with alcohol and then accidentally like saying a thing or two. But I also think that a lot of leaks are actually on purpose.
Oh yeah.
I don't think any of the leaks about Xbox, for example, are actually like necessarily on purpose. But I think a lot of stuff is just like, oh no, I've left this prototype in the coffee shop. Yeah. What an idiot. And it's like clearly
Ubisoft are quite famous for doing that. And like the Assassin's Creed games get leaked. Like so much like concept art gets put out, and then a week or 2 later they actually release it. But it seems to happen every single year. Anyway, enough about all of that, I suppose, and just inane chat about stuff that that isn't. When you're not quite in the episode yet, and you're so aware of it, and you're like, I'm not quite in the episode yet, and you don't really know who you are at that point. You're not really yourself. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not. I tell you what, I'm not quite in the episode yet. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. It's yeah. It's a horrible place to be. It's like purgatory. Are you ready for episode 12?
Yes.
Let's do it! Hi, Mark.
Hey, man. Now, I'm ready for episode 12, but I'm not quite in it. Could you tell us what's going to be in this episode so I can try and dip my toe?
Okay, all right. Get your cozzy on, all right? Take your beach towel off and get ready to dip your toe in. We've got... Oh, God. I didn't need the noises. We've got some big news in the episode today. Some big console news. You can probably tell by the title of this episode, which is going to be we haven't titled it yet, but it's going to have a rhyme in it and it's going to be well fun. There's some big console news in the episode today, boys and girls, as well as some other news. And also, we'll be taking a little look at the the topic of gaming addiction, and obviously it's a serious topic, but we're going to look at it with some levity, like we always do, and discuss its, whether we believe that it exists as a concept, and also if we think that we indeed have addiction to gaming, as well as looking at what we've been playing and that kind of thing that we always do. So we'll be looking at that shortly, but first, a little bit of housekeeping, Mark.
We might have mentioned this at the top of the app if I edit it that way.
Oh, that's true. But we need to lead into the jingle, don't we?
That is true. So just continue as if they haven't heard us chat about that.
Okay.
Just 1 second. So I'm just getting my cosy on. That's what you asked me to do. So carry on.
I thought that it was quite like it was almost like a really slow count into a song, but by using the elastic of your boxers
and with no tempo.
Yeah. So there's no new MLP MVP Most Valuable Listener person this week, I'm afraid, because no one's got in touch telling us that they've told 5 people about the podcast. What are you playing at, listeners? All right.
We had some promises.
We had promises.
No follow-throughs.
Someone on Twitter said, I'm going to tell 5 people about this show. Have they? They might have done, but you've got to tell us. So because we haven't got a new MVP MLP guy or girl or whoever, I'm afraid, Keaton Kendrick, you're going to be still holding on to the crown this week. So it looks like we're just going to have to play your jingle again, my friend. Here it is. Mr. Great Barrister, and he told 5 people about this show. Pushing buttons. Oh man, that's it's growing on me.
It's a solid jingle. Can we do an alternate version? Because I've got this chord in my head that I want to put at the end, so it has like a really nice cadence.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Especially if no one gets in contact, he's going to have this crown for a while, so we can jazz.
Yeah, we can do some remixes of it, definitely. Yeah, I'm well up for that. So no new MLP, sadly. So please do tell 5 people about the show, and then we'll do a new jingle for whoever you are. But first up, Mr. Mark, what have you been playing since we last discoursed?
The same as last week.
Right, cheers.
But less frequent. So to be honest with you, what have you? We can skip over me. What have you been playing this week?
You haven't got anything new to tell me.
No,
not really. What have you
enjoyed
enjoyed playing the most this last week, even if it is the same as last time?
I've just not been playing that much.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
To be honest with you, it's just how it's gone. I've reinstalled Fallout New Vegas to have another look at that.
What I will say, listeners, is that Mark, as you will know, Mark is using the PC element of my Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and
I've got it on Steam.
Yeah, but every single time that Mark gets a new game via my Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for PC, I get an email. It's great. So I really know Mark's gaming habits inside and out, and I'm waiting for him to download one of those weird, like, manga, sexy Japanese girl games.
Are they on there? I've not seen one.
They may very well be. Well, they're on the Switch. I think Microsoft have a slightly better way of. They're slightly better at vetting all of the shovelware that gets put on the Switch.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Since you mentioned your Game Pass, I will mention that I have indeed. I haven't played yet, but I've downloaded Crusader Kings 3, Resident Evil 7, Final Fantasy 15. No, apologies, 15 Windows Edition, and the one I have played a tiny weeny bit of is Void Bastards.
Oh yeah,
which is this sort of. I mean, how do they describe it? They've just put genre shooter, but it's a little bit more than that. It's got a sort of. I don't remember if you know the game Faster Than Light, FTL.
It's got
a sort of. So it's got an FTL element whereby you've got a sort of map where you're trying to make your way through. It's another roguelike, to be honest, because you're expected to die.
Yeah.
But you're basically playing as a client, which is literally someone who's put together using a dried packet and a load of water.
Great.
And it's got the voiceover guy from Stanley Parable doing the voiceover guy in Void Bastards. So that's a lot of fun.
Great.
Basically, it's like you're going through and collecting bits and pieces for your next run, and you need oxygen and you need fuel to continue your run. And it's done in a comic book style. So the opening sequence is literally like a panel by panel thing. That are sort of half animated, and then it suddenly puts you into the gameplay, and it looks exactly the same. It's done in that sort of cell shaded comic look, which I wasn't expecting. So yeah, it's got a lot of moxie about it, a nice sense of humour.
Oh, it's first person. I didn't realise it's first person shooter.
Yeah. But like the shooter, I mean, I'm not that deep in, but the shooter element of it seems quite light. So calling it a shooter doesn't seem, in terms of the genre, doesn't seem to really do it justice, because it's got a lot more going on, sort of aesthetically and humour wise, but it's all right.
Yeah, I like the look of it a lot.
Yeah,
cool. Reminds me a little bit, I don't know if you remember the game, was it 12 or 13 that was on the PS2 and GameCube, that was like a first person shooter that was full comics, and whenever you shot someone it went like kapow.
Oh right,
like that
yeah, that rings a bell. We've been playing.
So I have been playing a few games, first of which I mentioned that I started it last week and was like, I don't know if it's my kind of thing. But having sunk more time into it, I realised that I think it was just because I was slightly overwhelmed by it and was like, oh, this isn't what I expected it to be. I've been playing a good amount of Wasteland 3. And even though this kind of strategic, tactical, turn-based combat, akin to your XComs and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle kind of stuff, isn't it? What I do love is the Fallout-esque RPG elements to it, and the investment into your characters, and also the diversions in dialogue and story that you can do. And it's that classic trope of like, if you have a high enough basically like charisma level, but it's called something else, you have different dialogue options open to you, and you can avoid doing a fight because you are a certain type of character. It's those kind of things that I really like. It's like, my mechanic ability is like high enough to be able to fix this robot, and he can follow me around, and just those classic traits that I really enjoy. So it has all of those things, and it's got some really funny writing actually. There's some really funny dialogue in it, so I'm really enjoying that. I'm just enjoying it. I got sad. Oh, and I've also built a character who is like an absolute tank, and I've named him Tinty, which you'll be happy about.
Oh, prime. Get Dondo in there.
Yeah, and, maybe I'll get Dondo.
Make the power couple.
If you could, for those of you who don't know, which is all of you, me and Mark created. I created a character in Dark Souls called Tinty, and then Mark created a character called Dondo.
Yeah, they're best friends. And Tinty is incredibly quick and powerful, but even the mighty Tinty shrivels in the might of Dondo. So I've had a Dondo character in every single Dark Souls copy I've owned. So PC Prepare to Die edition. Dark Souls Remastered Switch Edition, Dark Souls Remastered PC Edition, Scroll of the First Sins, Dark Souls 2 PC Edition, and Dark Souls 3 on PC. And he's always just a strength character who just wields the fattest thing possible.
That's exactly what I've got my Tinty doing.
Oh, okay, sweet. So yeah, that was the joke. Really. It was more for us.
Yeah, it's just silly names. We like silly names, basically. So yeah, I'm enjoying Wasteland 3. The next one, oh boy, I'm enjoying this game. But the first 1 to 2 hours of it properly shat me up good and proper. Resident Evil 7. Oh my word, that's a good game. Just really pleased. I mean, so I've finally got around to playing this because it's on Game Pass, as is the story with everything that I talk about on this show. I never buy new games these days. It is just getting back to a spooky Resident Evil game. It's not all this crummy action crap that they're trying to do. It is properly creepy as heck. Like, it's the vibe of like, I don't want to open that door because I'm scared of what's on the other side. Like, it's like when you were playing the original PS1 games, the really slow door animations, like, that it just builds that suspense. Like in this game, you have to go up to a door and physically like press to open it, and it really makes you not want to open the door because it's such a slow process, and it's just great, and it's creepy. I would say The gunplay is a bit. It's not great gunplay. It's very like I've had to turn the sensitivity way up because before it was like so slow. But I'm enjoying it a whole lot, Mark.
Oh, cool. I haven't brought myself to play it yet. Not because of the spooks and the scares. Yeah. That I can handle. I like a bit of that. But because I have mad respect for Resident Evil 4 in particular, which we both love, which had that sort of arcadey, self-aware action shooter vibe going on. It wasn't spooky at all. But it was like Resident Evil really at that point kind of pigeonholed itself into this kind of like particular vibe. Mm-hmm. And then 5 tried to sort of do it again, but didn't do it as well. And then 6 was a disaster. But whereas the first 3 were a mixture of the two in many respects, you know, it was a lot sort of slower paced and creepy, but a lot more puzzly.
Oh yeah.
Resident Evil 7 looks like, to me, I mean, it looks like an amazing game. I'm really looking forward to playing it, but it doesn't look like a Resident Evil title, so I'm kind of like...
It's got a lot of puzzles.
Okay, I'm a bit tentative because like the remake of 2 is just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But this one looks more like it's trying to be PT, like the PT demo.
I mean, it's still got a lot of Resident Evil tropes in it, which I will say. I won't like go into too much detail, but like after the first 2 hours, it really gets into, oh, this is a Resident Evil game.
Okay.
Like you have a boss fight and it's like mad. It's absolutely mad.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm up for it then. Yeah. Because I want a really sweet mixture of that Resident Evil-ness, but with the sort of PT spooks, which if that's what it is, then it looks like it's going to be set up to be an amazing game. But I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I'm hugely impressed by it, and it's got me really excited to one, go and play the 2 and 3 remakes, and also I can't wait for Resident Evil 8 Village, when that actually finally comes out.
You see the trailer for Resident Evil The Village?
I haven't seen it. I've seen the trailer for the Resident Evil 8. It's got a good song on it.
What you need is an accent that is both Brummy and German.
Yeah. Well,
to pronounce it.
Me and my friend George always used to like when you go into like a kebab shop or something, and like the guy is like, you know, he's not originally from the UK, but he's lived in the UK for like quite a while, and he's got like a kind of he's been here for a while, but like he's still got quite a lot of other thing going on in there. Like it's quite a weird mix of stuff. Like
sounds like a Sacha Baron.
Yeah, I love those kind of accents.
Character.
I find them hilarious. Anyway, finally. Tell me why I've gone on to chapter 2 of it. The interesting story about a pair of twins uncovering their youth and learning more about their youth as they go on. Maybe everything wasn't as it seemed. Really strong story, slightly slow gameplay, but I'm in it for the story. And I'm enjoying it so far.
I don't know if I want to play it, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's your cup of tea, personally.
Well, I really enjoyed Detroit Becoming Human and Wolf Among Us back in the day, so you never know.
True.
But I don't know if I'm in the market for one of these at the moment.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, you know, it's just sometimes how it goes.
You know, it could be something you like, or it could be not something that you're not gonna like as much as other games. I don't know what's happening there.
It's
time. It's time for the news.
Still need a jingle.
Yeah. Oh, someone make us a jingle for the news, would you?
Yeah, come on. I mean, it should be.
It should be. We've already shown off our jingle expertise. Mark, these last few days have been an atomic bomb of news in the console world.
It's made me glad that we did the timey-wimey edit magic last week.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because we had, after we did the main record, we had Nintendo and NVIDIA news that sort of suddenly exploded into the world.
Which also became the kind of the main focus of the episode in the end last week.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
But this shouldn't take too long to get through because it's all kind of a similar topic. Basically, there's been a lot of leaks for Team Xbox, and they have thought, instead of thinking we're not going to respond to the leaks, we're just going to come out and sort of bite the bullet and be like, yep, okay, we're going to confirm all this. It looks like they had all of the assets, the social media videos and clips ready to go anyway. They were probably just going to release it a little bit later than at the start of this week. But anyway, here it is. So news sort of broke in the middle of the night on Monday. I think it was midnight in America on Monday, that the long-rumoured Xbox Series S, so the sort of cheaper downsized console that everybody knew was going to be a thing, it's definitely a thing. And it's going to cost 250 of the Queen's pounds and release on November the 10th, which is 3 days before my birthday, everybody listening. So there's a hint. And it's going to be released with the sort of following specs and details. So I'll just reel this off. This is all from the official Xbox website. Featuring a compact new design in Robot White. I like that it's Robot White and not just white. Xbox Series S is the smallest Xbox ever created and was built to easily fit into your home and lifestyle. Xbox Series S is also perfect for digital-first gamers and our fans who want to bring their games with them wherever they play. Xbox Series S includes our new Xbox wireless controller, also in Robot White. So the main sort of takeaway there is it's them saying it's digital-first gamers. It does not have a CD drive, a DVD drive. It's got none of that. It's digital only. The primary difference between Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S is in resolution. Through talking to our customers, we found that many of our fans prioritize frame rate over resolution. So we wanted to build a console that didn't require a 4K TV. Xbox Series S delivers approximately 3 times the GPU performance of Xbox One and was designed to play games at 1440p at 60 frames per second with support for up to 120 FPS. With the increased efficiency we get from the next generation AMD RDNA 2 graphics architecture, combined with the virtual memory multipliers enabled through the Xbox Velocity architecture, Xbox Series S will deliver performance and experiences well beyond the raw specs. So, Mark, you can talk slightly more into the sort of detailed specs in terms of GPU and resolution. I mean, I heard you make a noise of agreement there in terms of prioritizing frame rate over resolution. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. We're in a really funny place right now. There's a reason a lot of people don't use television as their computer monitors, and it's because they all run at 60 hertz. So you're basically locked to 60 FPS anyway. Yeah. It's why we buy high refresh rate monitors, etc., etc. So we're in a weird place right now where like the technology is available. It's there. We can do this now. Hey, let's get some high refresh rate stuff. And over the past 2 years or so, we have seen companies like LG in particular sort of going, hey, what about a TV that can do high refresh rate, works with like FreeSync or G-Sync or something, and all this good stuff, and it's 4K. So it's starting to come out. I haven't looked at prices myself.
Yeah.
So the problem we have now is that in order to really make use of these consoles and to make it worth it, you're going to have to buy a new TV.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just not making use of it. Obviously, some of you might be not bothered at all and just want to play the games, and that's a legitimate thing. But if you want to actually make use of these specs that they're throwing at us and these features, you're going to need a new television. So there is that to consider.
Yeah, could someone get a gaming monitor, so less like a TV, and run the Xbox Series S on that?
There's no reason why not. Yeah, I don't know what they use in terms of syncing refresh rate. To be honest with you, I don't even know. All I've got is a PS3 these days, and I don't know what that does. But I assume, well, they run at 30 frames anyway, and a lot of games have been doing over the past few years. So I don't really know what difference that would make. But yes, you probably could buy a monitor and do it that way. That is
I'm just wondering, say if somebody does want sort of, if they are in the camp of, I just want to play the game, so perhaps they are in the Xbox Series S S camp rather than the X, because the X players will want they'll want the best they can get in terms of a console, in terms of power and resolution and all that kind of thing. But if you were in the Xbox Series S camp, maybe the best option is to get that and get a monitor over a TV, because that'll overall be a cheaper package anyway.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to go look at the prices and weigh up what it is you want, especially when it comes to the size of the monitor and whether you want to use it like a TV, something that's beyond 32 inch, because historically monitors at 2K are 27 inch and 1080p are 24.5 inch or 24 inch. So it depends how close you want to be to it and where you're playing.
I guess if you're using it as like a home entertainment system, like I do with my Xbox One, I use it for Netflix, have it as the main thing, and then in the living room that I stream all my shows on. I suppose that's when you're thinking I need a big ass TV.
Yeah, and putting a little 24-inch monitor might look a bit dumb. But yeah, the thing is going back to that thing about gamers prioritizing frame rate. That is true. We've been crying out over this past generation for games to be at least 60 FPS. I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm so out of touch with it. I don't even know if they were or not.
In this current generation, yeah, there are some games that. So in the sort of the second generation of this, the second half of this generation, when they had the like PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, their selling point was you're going to play these games at 60 FPS,
right?
And slightly up-resed gameplay. But yeah, the selling point of the next gen is everything will be at least 60 FPS, which I suppose is the base level of what you'd expect, really.
Yeah. And if you're wondering what the difference is in terms of from a gameplay point of view, more FPS means smoother animations. It means everything just feels smoother, looks smoother, or everything will look a bit more natural. It actually goes the other way with film. We're very used to seeing films at like 24 frames to 29 point something frames or 30 frames. So when you start getting into those TVs that make add a load of frames and all that sort of thing, it all looks like it looks like you're watching the rushes that haven't been edited yet, and it makes it look unnatural. It sort of takes away the film element. There's something we're getting into a different topic here. We're going back to that old TV versus video game thing, but it takes away the movie magic. But with games, it actually adds to the realism and it makes everything smoother. Resolution wise, it's purely an aesthetic thing. Everything just looks a lot crisper and tends to look a lot more detailed and sort of nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree that refresh rate is king probably of the two things. But most people's television is going to be 60 hertz.
Yeah.
So something to consider.
It is, yeah. I think if you're going to want to be diving into the next generation with the best possible visuals and everything, there's a lot to consider in terms of cost. And subsequent to that, there were more leaks, and including the pricing and release date of the Xbox Series X, which is of course the bigger daddy console for Xbox. And again, Microsoft has just today, so we're recording this on Wednesday, they've confirmed everything to be true. So both consoles will release on November 10th. The Xbox Series X will cost £450. Pre-orders start September 22nd. So that's sort of in the wheelhouse of what you'd expect. I think that is actually the same price that the current Xbox One cost when that was released. So it's sort of in the ballpark of what you'd expect, I suppose.
Yeah, it's sort of within the comforting pillow of acceptance. I think that's not a thing.
I need to get me one of those pillows, mate.
I think they've done an interesting thing here with the two price points. The 450 is sort of definitely up there in cost, but isn't completely outrageous. Because when you start talking about £500, you're like, blimey, £500. Whereas 450 makes you think, that's not too bad. I was worried that what they were doing was going to be really splitting the crowd and essentially potentially making game development harder, because if you've got two consoles that have two different requirements, you're going to either end up with games that cater to the lower end console and therefore look and feel worse, graphically and in terms of smoothness, etc., etc., or they're all going to cater to the more powerful one, and then the Xbox S becomes this chugging hot piece of garbo. That can't run stuff. But what they seem to have done is actually made something where actually it hopefully just has a setting where it goes, we see you're playing on the S. That's fine. We'll set it to this resolution, and it's developed, in the same way, but just lowers it down, down the resolution and the potential FPS.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a really interesting choice because it's going to appeal to the casual gamer a little bit more because it's a next-gen console for £250. That sounds great. And if they hear next-gen, that might just be enough for them. But it's going to be really interesting pairing because as far as we know, and it looks like, PlayStation have two consoles, but they're essentially the same console. One just doesn't have a disc drive. So one, it's going to be interesting to see how they price it. Will they have the one with the disc drive the same cost as the Xbox Series X, so $450, and then the discless one $399, for instance, or $400?
That's what I think.
That's what I also think. And then it's going to be very interesting to see if people think, no, I just want the PlayStation because that's the brand I trust from this current generation and the exclusives and all that kind of thing. Or if there's going to be people that think, I can get a next-gen console for £150 cheaper. It's going to be very interesting to see what the casual gamer, someone who is a FIFA player, a Fortnite player, all these kind of things, it's going to be interesting to see which way they fall.
Yes, I mean, for me and a couple of my friends, we genuinely think that this new generation looks crap.
Yeah.
The opening releases are bad. A lot of them are being cancelled. There's not a lot to get excited about. And as PC gamers, we're very used to high refresh rate, high resolution stuff. So like, there's absolutely nothing to draw us over there at all.
Yeah.
And a couple of my friends actually own PS4s and are just looking at the offering and going, you know what? With the PlayStation probably being a little bit more expensive than the Xbox offering, and the Xbox offering starting at $250, I'd rather upgrade my graphics card with a new RTX GPU, and just have an even, something that is now, we know, if the benchmarks come out to be true, will be more powerful than a console. So they would rather. It's really interesting that they are now thinking, you know what, I'm not interested in spending that amount of money. I would rather spend that on a GPU and have something that is just beyond more powerful than all the offerings.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think obviously brand loyalty is a thing. Xbox people will tend to stick with the Xbox, and PlayStation people will tend to stick with the PlayStation. I think that in terms of the marketing of it, I think there's a lot to be said about the fact that the two PS5s are identical apart from the disc drive. So that you don't feel like you're getting an antiquated product. I think that's quite a big thing for a lot of people. You know that you're just choosing to go digital. So I expect them to bank on that a little bit. I expect Sony to kind of be like, hey, we don't need a less powerful one. We are powerful. This is what we've got.
Yeah.
You can just choose to have this or not. Whereas Xbox have gone, down a more of a straight up facts. This is what this one can do. This is what this one can do. Hey, it's only £250. That's potentially a bargain, which is, true. So I think it's interesting. I'm also really looking forward to Sony coming out and pretending like they always planned, because I expect that their prices, there's rumors that it will come out today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we don't know. But I'm really looking forward to them coming out and being like, oh, we always plan to release our price at this date.
Yeah.
When it's like,
it has been such a game of cat of mouse, hasn't it?
Yeah. Where everyone's going to call them out and be like, no, shut up. Xbox have released and now you're releasing.
Yeah,
we get it.
yeah.
We get it. And I think you're right. I think they'll match the price of the more powerful console. So the one with the disc drive is very likely to be £450 and just completely match it. The driveless one, not so sure. Like I said, it's going to be the same power level in terms of componentry, but I think it'll undercut massively those two £450 consoles, but not be £250. I think they'd be making a huge loss. So minimum £350. But probably $399.99.
Oh, that's what I would have thought. Charging £50 for the ability to play DVDs sounds about right these days.
Yeah, but it's those Ultra 4K, Blu-ray, disc drive, whatever that means.
I think the real question is going to be, so I know so many people, for example, our friend Mide, who he only plays FIFA. There will be other people who only play FIFA and COD and Fortnite and, don't really give a damn about exclusive games. So it is going to be very interesting now that Xbox are coming out with a console that potentially costs £150 less than the cheapest PlayStation. And for someone who doesn't know what frame rate is or resolution is, what are they going to do? So these next two bits of news might also play into some of that. It'll be very interesting to see. The first of which, Microsoft has also detailed that they're going to have a monthly payment model called Xbox All Access, which is kind of very similar to how mobile phone contracts work. So this will include a console, Xbox Live, and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Xbox Live is sort of encompassed into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate these days. So for the Xbox Series S, the smaller, cheaper console, this will be £20.99 a month. And for the Xbox Series X, it'll be £28.99 a month. So a really interesting kind of model, really. And so I don't know if that's something. I mean, I would always rather pay up front for something, but
I would rather pay up front and own something. It's what I've done with my previous mobile phones.
Yes,
because I know that I own it and I'm not waiting for some sort of upgrade or something, and I can get a cheaper contract.
Yeah, sorry, and also these sort of contracts last for 2 years, so you have all of that, and I suppose once you've paid it off for the 2 years, you own the console.
Does someone come out? Oh, I see. I thought someone would come over, kick your door down, and rip
take it
out
off you
of its
no,
holdings.
I'm guessing you've paid it off by that point. I don't know what it will mean for the Game Pass Ultimate, whether you then need to buy a subscription for that. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked into that. But basically £21 a month for an Xbox Series S with hundreds of games. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to work out in terms of value for money if that's something I would ever. Considering I currently pay £12 a month for Xbox Games Pass Ultimate, that's another £8 a month to have a console.
I think people are more likely to just want to be able to just have the money together, pay for the console, and then choose their services. I think this is overcomplicating things. I think this is a weird model. Unless it's coming with some other benefits that I haven't seen or don't understand. I'm just in the camp of buy your thing, own your thing, and then do what you want with it.
Yeah.
So
I think I definitely am. I think I'm just trying to work out if there's anyone that might. I guess it's the kind of people that buy things on credit and think I don't have the money right now for that. I will eventually, so I'd rather pay this much smaller amount on a monthly basis until I have enough money. I don't know.
Well, I think if you're in that camp, you probably just hold on to your Xbox One until its life cycle has genuinely ended, and then pay it.
But yeah, I guess it is those people though that, like me, are paying £13 a month for Game Pass Ultimate as it is, and then thinking, oh, it's only an extra £8 a month than what I'm currently paying to get a console. I don't know.
Yeah,
there might very well be people like that.
I need to see what the benefits are on top of just owning and getting the Game Pass.
Well, I suppose it means you never need. Well, as in it's the Game Pass thing, as in like I'm never going to have to buy a game on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Adding on to that, final bit of Xbox related news: EA Play, which is EA's sort of not something that I'm overly familiar with, but it's basically their subscription service that is sort of like Game Pass. It is going to be
available on Origin and Steam at the moment.
Okay, cool.
That's all I do know.
What's Origin again?
Origin is EA's platform store, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's their it was supposed to compete with Steam. Everyone just went knob off and it basically ignored it, but they've still got it.
Yeah.
Basically Steam and EA had, I can't remember what it was, but they had a big hoo-ha and a legal battle and a bit of a tiff, so they went, we're taking all our games off Steam, goodbye, we're going to make Origin.
Are they still off it?
No, they've come back on very recently, so they've obviously either noticed that their pockets aren't as full or shook hands and put them back on, but really they need to sack off Origin because it's just annoying having another thing on your PC that you have to load up. Anyway, subscription service.
Yeah, so EA Play is now, well, not now, but at some stage later this year, it will be joining Game Pass, meaning that their entire catalogue of games will be included with Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So, currently EA titles aren't included in Game Pass, but they will. And this means that those already subscribed to Game Pass for no extra cost will have access to your FIFA, Madden, The Sims, Star Wars Battlefront, and Star Wars Squadrons, which is coming out, as well as many more games. So that's a pretty big deal. No extra cost.
Yeah, it's a good one to know.
So, stuff like Star Wars Squadrons, which I was going to buy, I'm going to wait till later this year when I'll get it for free.
Yeah, nice.
Pretty decent.
Pretty good.
Again, kind of adds to what I was saying before. Potentially, sort of, they're aiming for that casual gamer, thinking, FIFA. People buy consoles just for FIFA. If they know it's going to be included, and they will also get the next one when it comes out for free, perhaps that is a draw for some people. Obviously, it's not just FIFA; it's all of the other EA games as well. Titanfall 1 and 2, all of that kind of stuff, the Star Wars games. It might be a bit of a draw for people. I'm pretty chuffed because I don't have to do anything about it, and I'll just get all these games added to my Game Pass. So I'm pretty chuffed about that.
This isn't news. Assassin's Creed Valhalla will release a week earlier than expected to launch with the 2 next-gen Xbox consoles on November 10th.
Not a fan of the Assassin's Creed games.
No.
I mean, it's a launch title for Xbox now.
Good for them.
So that's something they have to play on the console on day one now, which they didn't have before.
True.
So there's that. This is cutting on to what we've been talking about recently. Nintendo have reported asking developers to make 4K ready games. IGN reported that on a Bloomberg report, Nintendo's plans to boost Switch production includes a brief mention of Nintendo's apparent request. Third-party developers have been asked to make their games 4K ready, which implies the company is at least considering a model of the console that can output a higher resolution than Switch is currently capable of. We sort of already knew this, but it's now confirmed that developers are being told this needs to be 4K ready because it's coming to the next Switch, I'm guessing. So I guess it's just an extra little bit of confirmation that this is happening.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I think it adds to my worry about what road Nintendo are going down. For the last 3 generations, they've sort of sat back and done their own thing. For better or for worse. The Wii was great, the Wii U not so. The Switch started off great, and they've gone very quiet. So this is just like, are they making a play to come back into the sort of make it a 3-way battle again? I don't really know, and really taking doing a bit of a U-turn on where they've been going in terms of segmenting themselves into the sort of casual
toy
Nintendo fun time interactivity times. So it's just making me uneasy about their future and what it is they want and what they're going to do. But hey, it's certainly interesting.
We're in for very interesting. Kind of I just hope more than anything that if they're thinking about doing all this 4K stuff, I just want them to improve the general ecosystem and the online and the ease of being able to play games with your friends. That is what I care about more with Nintendo. All the weirdness that they have in terms of their just UI and infrastructure. Please just fix that. And if it looks a bit nicer as well, then great. But that's not what I'm worrying about the most.
Yeah. Agree. Sticking with Nintendo for this last piece of news, in classic Nintendo style, with no forewarning, no foreshadowing whatsoever, they pooped out another crumb of news with a trailer for a new Hyrule Warriors game, which is set 100 years before the events of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's called Age of Calamity, and it's coming out on November the 20th. I don't know how you felt about the trailer, but I actually quite enjoyed it. Apart from the fact I didn't know it was happening.
I'm yet to watch the trailer yet. I need to, just because I didn't play the original Hyrule Warriors, and I've never really been into the sort of Dynasty, the Warriors style games. But I absolutely freaking love Breath of the Wild, and if there is any, obviously it's set in that world, so that's a plus. And I'm quite invested in the story and how that all sort of was brought to light and the how it happened, Ganon and stuff. So I it's going to cost it's going to cost £50, so I'm not going to get it, but I'm interested.
I'm quite up for this one. I too didn't play the first one. However, there's a few reasons. A, the same as you. I really enjoy Breath of the Wild. I like the idea that this is, a completely different style of gameplay that's going to inform the lore and the story of that game, because, why the heck not? So it draws me in from a story point of view. That's really like fun and interesting to do a sort of prequel in a different style. But the second reason is I have a massive soft spot for the Warriors style games. I've always enjoyed Dynasty Warriors and found them really stupid and fun. And also you accidentally learn a bit of history. Chinese history, that is.
Accidentally.
But a lot of it's sort of overblown in action style, but a lot of it is actually true. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for the Warriors style games. This also, because like you say, is done in the Breath of the Wild style graphically. It looks a lot nicer and a lot smoother. The previous one sort of looked a bit jagged and sort of ropey.
Yeah.
So this looks like it'll be a far more, there's a kind of reason for this game to exist, whereas the previous one was just like the draw of, hey, you know what? People like Dynasty Warriors. Hey, people like Zelda. Let's make it. And then just kind of pooping it out. Whereas this one has a story and a lore reason to exist, but also has now taken on the Breath of the Wild graphical style, which is that sort of nice cel-shaded, anime-ish.
It's very nice
looking thing. So I'm quite up for this. I'll wait for some gameplay and reviews, but actually I could be very interested in getting this, especially over the disappointment that is the 3D Mario buy it now or it's gone threat.
Weird. I'm just looking forward to hearing Revali's Gale again, or Daruk's Protection is ready to use.
That's true. That could be back.
Yeah, funny old Nintendo, but hey, there's some games from them, which is better than no games from them. Big topic time.
Video game addiction. This is a very serious topic, actually. So we'll try and keep it as light as possible. Whilst this is gonna be like a Scrubs episode.
Whoa,
sort of funny, but like hit some deep spots. Do you know what I mean?
I'll be Turk, you be JD.
Okay, gotcha.
Brilliant.
I'll add in some thoughts in post
with like
that sort of
acoustic music underneath it.
Yeah. Bring, ding, ding, spong. But yeah, I mean, this could be a topic that we come back to.
Yeah,
if we have
I'd like to
revelations
think so.
on
we
it.
might.
There's potential to look at this from a lot of different angles. I think mental health, the practices that a lot of developers take it within their games themselves.
Also, like politics as well, in that like politicians have got involved with this kind of thing and have tried to say this or that about gaming and gamers and all that kind of thing. Like, it all ties into the general perception of gamers and video games, and a lot of people who aren't gamers are seeing it in a negative light. But I thought it would be nice to start this with a sort of a medical definition of what it is really, gaming addiction. So I got this from the website UK Rehab. Gaming addiction, also known as gaming disorder, video game addiction, VGA, and computer game addiction, is one of the... We're back at computer games again, what I said, the term that I hate.
Do you feel a little bit sick?
Yeah, I do. You playing on those computer games again? Is one of the most recent forms of addiction to have emerged, and significant debate still exists about the extent to which it should be considered a condition in its own right. However, regardless of its precise medical status, gaming addiction has caused incalculable pain to countless people in recent decades, and a growing number of people are now being treated for it in the UK and the wider world. Diagnosis of gaming addiction identifies the compulsive playing of video games to the extent to which such behaviour causes physical and/or mental harm or other detrimental effects to the gamer. Some individuals are unable to stop playing video games for extremely long periods, with potentially serious ramifications for their health. Indeed, a number of fatalities have been associated with such extremely long periods of gaming. Others may find themselves able to stop after a while and indeed punctuate their gaming with periods of work and or academic activity, but nevertheless cannot get rid of their obsession with gaming and allow it to dominate their lives, possibly at the cost of previously treasured relationships, activities, and ambitions. And finally, just to end this sort of jargon bit, we have...
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please. Go for it, Mark.
Give you a little break, mate.
Yeah.
the World Health Organization, or WHO, definition identifies a pattern of persistent or recurrent gaming behavior, which may be online, i.e. over the internet, or offline, manifested by 1. Impaired control over gaming, e.g. onset, frequency, intensity, duration, termination, context, close brackets. 2. Increasing priority given to gaming to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other life interests and daily activities. And 3, continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. There's quite a lot to take in.
There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of sort of medical jargon. There's a lot to think about. And
why don't we talk about ourselves? Because that's a good entry point.
Yeah.
As I said, there's a lot of different angles we could come at this from. That's why it's an interesting topic. But what about us?
Yeah.
Is it just a hobby? We've been gaming since we were just little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Are we addicted? Is it just something we dip in and out of? How do you perceive yourself?
I mean, I think scarily, some of that does speak to me. Some of the stuff we've talked about in there, but just nowhere near to the extent that it does refer to. There are definitely detrimental effects to my kind of gaming habits, but I like to think that I have a great deal of control over my gaming habits, which I suppose makes me quite lucky. I am able to know when to stop. I am able to take breaks from it and not get totally caught up in it. However, if it were up to me, I could spend a weekend purely playing games and doing nothing else quite happily, were it not for living with a girlfriend who says, let's go outside. But I have definitely done that before. I can remember when I was at university, I did half a year at Nottingham University and subsequently dropped out. And I spent most of that term playing Halo 3 ODST and pretty much doing nothing else. But for me, even though I might have said I was addicted to it at that point, that game was really a savior for me at that point because it was my only joy I was finding in what was quite a dark time for me, really. And I would say if it weren't for that game, I wouldn't have had anything to focus on. So, it's interesting. I would say I'm not addicted, but there are elements of my personality. And there are things that I find within gaming that does give me tick boxes that you would get from an addiction. Like there are things that keep me coming back for more, but I feel like that's just a successful game in a lot of ways. A game is good if it makes me want to keep coming back for more. But luckily, I don't think I'm addicted because at the end of the day, I am able to stop and get away from it. I will say, though, the most addicted that I have ever been was when I was playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, because it was all I could think about. And whenever I was doing something that wasn't playing it, I wanted to be playing it. But because that's the only experience I've had with it, I'm just kind of putting that down to the fact that I just really freaking loved that game and it was an excellent game. How about you? How would you say, where would you fit in all of this in terms of addiction?
Well, I mean, going back to the WHO thing, it's kind of like the laws of robotics. They kind of like have a cyclic nature, don't they?
Yeah.
So impaired control over gaming and increased priority. I definitely don't have the increased priority thing. I think discounting like secondary school homework, which was always a waste of time anyway, and didn't teach you anything. Like, of course, I'm going to choose to play, Gears of War and Halo over that.
Yeah.
But if I have other things to do, i.e., work or whatever it is, I will always do that because then I can enjoy the gaming.
Yeah.
So I don't give it priority. That's for sure. In terms of like thinking about it all the time, not hugely. I mean, I know when I need to take a little break because what happens to me is I'll have like a piece of music or like a bunch of sound effects replaying in my head.
Yeah.
Like specifically, like maybe in the evening when I'm going to bed or something, and I'll just have it in my head, and I'll be like, oh, I've played a little bit too much of that. you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you've just got a dong in your head or whatever it is. And it's like,
it's burnt in.
It's like, it is like burning. But I don't think so. I think I tend to prioritize other things. Otherwise, I genuinely won't enjoy playing playing it because I'll have the other things in my head.
Yeah.
So that's how that works for me. But I do agree. Like I could certainly just sit down and play for quite a few hours if I wanted to, or dedicate a weekend if I felt like it.
Yeah. But I suppose that is, like we were saying, that just probably means it's a hobby that we really enjoy.
I think so.
And I think people from the outside, there are definitely people that would think, what, you were just sat inside all day playing on a game? What, you must be addicted. But actually, it's like, well, no. Well, think about what you did over the weekend. You went out and saw people, you played golf or whatever. You did those things because you wanted to do them and you enjoy them. I just did the same thing. I just happened to sit down and play on a game all weekend.
Like you were saying, your Breath of the Wild thing. I'm trying to think if I've had an example where actually like, it's been more of a draw. Maybe like the early days of World of Warcraft.
Yep.
World of Warcraft was like the first big MMO. It was a completely different gaming experience. I don't think I was addicted, but I definitely like played more of it at the time than I should have done. And if you look back at the history of the game, there are people that have died because they spent so much time dedicated to leveling up and just being in that world that they just forgot to eat, which is like a whole new level of dedication and addiction. So certainly wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
but maybe the early days of like Burning Crusade and the Lich King would be the closest I've been to being like going into full goblinoid mode where you just sat there just like
well, it brings. I don't know if you've seen the episode of South Park which deals with
it's the best episode.
Yeah, it's great. As in it conjures up image of that guy sat there in front of the screen, in an absolute state. But and in those situations, you have to kind of ask yourself, is it just that they nailed it and made an excellent game? Or is it something innate within some people that have addictive personalities? And really, it's that is the issue. The people have these, and if it wasn't the games, it would be something else that they could, because they have an addictive nature in their personality. Which I suppose is quite an interesting part of it. You've added something here which I think is really interesting about things that certain games have in them that are put in the game to make you want to keep coming back.
Yeah, again, this potentially goes back to what you're saying about having an addictive thing in your personality. So if you have a gambling addiction, there is actually a case of someone who went into gaming and started just paying for these like loot boxes, specifically in FIFA. So instead of gambling, he was using the same addictive nature and spending thousands of pounds within FIFA, getting these player card things and all that sort of thing. Loot boxes have essentially added a literal gambling mechanic into games that will just inform addictive behavior or replace it. So, like I said, with that guy, it just replaced it. But for us, like you don't have a gambling addiction, I'm sure I don't. So, but for us, like if we really got invested in the game and it had this mechanic, and like we weren't turned on to this mechanic, which we're conscious of it. We could, I'll spend a little money and try out this thing. And then that becomes a cycle where you're just like, I didn't spend any money on it the last couple of weeks, so maybe I'll just give them another $5 and see what I get. I like this game.
It's that risk reward adrenaline that you get in gambling. That's kind of like, I'm taking a risk here, but it could pay off. But I mean, at least in the real world in gambling, the reward is money. But in the game, it's like, I'm going to get a really good shiny Ronaldo, which is mad if you think about it. But it's
or
about
a skin for a character or whatever.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's cosmetic a lot of the time, but there are some people that are so invested, and I suppose it's almost the knowledge that you'll be able to show off about it and be like, look what I got. That is enough of a drive for people, and there's been so many lawsuits involved with games that people have said this is literally gambling. This shouldn't be in a game that kids are able to play because you're introducing them to gambling in a very accessible way, and it's not safe and it's not fair.
I mean, we are specifically going into gambling addiction here, but the thing is that like it's one thing to, buy a game and play the game and then monitor how much you're playing it and making sure that, you're still staying active, staying healthy and not getting addicted to the game itself, but adding actual gambling mechanics within a game to then get you hooked into the game is some weird ass unethical BS right there. I mean, that's just bizarre. I don't want to get us into trouble, but I will just say, EA specifically have had multiple lawsuits, and you could find the footage up on YouTube of them trying to defend themselves when it's clearly gambling. It's not just a way of paying for something, paying for content. It is a put your money in, ding, 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 here's what you got. It's a different thing. I can't really speak to gambling addiction specifically because I can't identify with it. But it's certainly something that has been a hot topic over the past few years and probably will continue to be because it doesn't seem to be going away.
No, of course not. And it is scary because it's gambling breaking into a market that is an entertainment. It's purely for entertainment, video games are, and introducing monetary gambling into that is incredibly dangerous. And in a lot of ways, it's very smart for these companies because it's like, isn't it? Well, it's why EA makes so much money because of FIFA selling all of their packs and everything and all their stuff and doing these loot boxes and all that kind of stuff. They make millions and millions and millions of pounds through FIFA. But it's just, it's just because people love football, love entertainment, and they think, I can get a one-up on a mate here by spending a few bob on a flipping little box or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I put this, saying that do we believe that it is a medical condition similar to a gambling addiction or even like a substance abuse addiction like alcohol? And even if we do, is it because there are so many people, whether it's older generations or people who just aren't gamers or have no knowledge of the gaming industry? Is it because there is a negative opinion of gamers and gaming, even though it's definitely less so than it was, say, in the 90s, when Mortal Kombat came out and everyone was like, this game is horrendous, the violence and all this stuff. The negative kind of opinion of gaming has definitely gone downhill. But is it because there is a negative opinion of it that it gets lumped in with gambling addiction and it gets lumped in with substance abuse addiction? Do you think that's part of it?
I think addiction is addiction. To be honest, I think you could link them all. It's all everyone has a different trigger or thing they get addicted to. But I think it is a specific mental health issue. So I don't think it's separated apart from anything else. That it's just different ways of consuming content. Or alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, but I think it's easy to use it as an excuse to back down video games as a lesser art form or something that is just unhealthy, without looking into it any further. So I don't think it's something that's just lumped in to make it look bad. I think they're all something that could be linked to mental health and all the rest of it, but it's just another thing that can be used to make them look bad, look worse than other things.
I totally agree with you, and I do think that it does annoy me when people, the whole argument of saying that a mass murderer has gone on a killing spree purely because Grand Theft Auto exists as a game, like those kind of things do annoy me sometimes, even though I'm not by any means saying that someone can't be influenced by a game, but things like that does annoy me and feeds into the negative perception of gamers. But that's sort of a separate topic, I suppose. How good are you at kind of stopping a gaming session? How do you do it? Do you give yourself a sort of a cut-off of a time, or is it just the moment where you say, like you said before, you realise that you've been playing it for too long? Like how do you How do you stop?
Well, how do you start?
Good question.
I try to
Chicken
keep
or egg?
Yeah. I mean, apart from the weekends, I won't play during the day. I'll try and be proactive and do other things, work or whatever it is that needs doing. So I'll keep the gaming for post 6 o'clock if it's all possible. But it's in terms of stopping, I don't know. It depends on what's going on. If I'm playing by myself, I'll stop when I look at the time and go, cool. Been playing for a couple of hours. I'm done. If I'm playing with mates, it's a different story because you're in the moment and just playing, and like you kind of get into that thing where it's like, should we do another round? And it's like, but it's 12 now. Like let's leave it or whatever.
I suppose that I mean there is no other than you being tired and going to bed. That is so different to taking precedence over life interests or daily activities is in the World Health Organization definition. Like you aren't taking preference. You've got nothing else on. So for all else concerned, stay up until 3 a.m. and have a lie in the next day. It's only when it's at the detriment of doing something else or talking to someone or whatever it is. So really that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you're addicted, does it?
No, I think there was something I looked up. I forgot. What's it called? It's this is it. Okay, it was really interesting. I found this thing called revenge bedtime procrastination.
Wow!
And it's people stay up late into the early hours because they didn't feel free to do things during the day. It's such a bizarre thing.
Who are you getting revenge on yourself?
Well, yeah, or the rest of the day because you had to do things. You had to prioritize other things. So because you didn't have time to, it could be anything, to read that book, to play that game, to watch that couple of episodes of whatever it is that you wanted to watch. So you stay up late, procrastinate going to bed in order to feel like you've had some time to yourself.
Yeah.
You've had time to do the thing that you enjoy.
So you're basically saying to yourself, I'll show you. I didn't get enough time today, so I'm going to stay up late. I'll show you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, at the detriment of the next day, because of course you'll be grumpy and tired when you wake up.
That is...
I can identify with that a little bit. Occasionally I've gone, I didn't do that. I wanted to do that and I didn't.
Yeah.
That I can kind of get on board with.
Yeah, I understand. I appreciate the concept, but it doesn't really ring true with me, I'm afraid. I've never had revenge on myself for not doing enough stuff. I in terms of my sessions, it depends on the game really, and how long the gameplay loop is and how long things can take. For the only times I think similar to you where I've stayed up too late is in the past where it's been like I'm doing a raid on Destiny and it's like a raid that like takes 3 hours or whatever it is, and it's just like, well, I'm in this for the long haul now. But if it's something with quite a quick gameplay loop, then generally I will just be like, well, it's bedtime now, so I'll stop.
Yeah. Like I say, for me, it's easier if it's just something I'm playing by myself. I'm far more likely to just like play a bit and then go, getting a bit late. I'll see you later, and just like pop off. Whereas if you're playing with mates, there's that. Sometimes it's because you get lost in what you're doing, and sometimes it's because you kind of egg each other on, like in a funny way. Just one more. No. It's like,
definitely.
But you're gonna play one more, aren't you? Mate? Yeah. So or whatever as a gag.
I think
if you're all sensible, it doesn't work, and you do just stop.
Yeah, true. I think this all kind of goes to show that neither of us have gaming addiction, because if we did, we would just keep playing no matter what. We wouldn't even think about.
Wouldn't we make this podcast? We'd be gaming right now.
Very true. You wouldn't be thinking about external factors. It'd just be like, well, I'm playing the game and that's all I want to do. So in sort of like in summary, I would personally think that it's, like you said, it's a mental health thing, and it's, if you have an addictive personality, that is sort of the issue. It's not video games' fault. It's not that video games are innately addictive and therefore a bad thing. It is that, yes, if you have an addictive personality, and you enjoy video games, then it's a cocktail for video game addiction. But it could be something else. And there are certain games that I would say are more capable of being addictive. Things that involve loot and character progression and things to unlock, because there's those senses of achievement that you get when you level up, when you find the thing, whatever that is. So there are games that in their design try to be more addictive, but again, I don't think that means that it's the game's fault. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I don't think, for example, World of Warcraft was set out to be addictive. I think it was obviously the whole massive multiplayer online thing was very new and exciting, and that sort of slow progression where you knew it was going to take hours to level up, especially in the old World of Warcraft, like hours to level up, and it became this really addictive. Oh, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Oh, I've got this quest line to do, and that game by nature just had the potential power to do that, but I don't think it was designed to be that way. Whereas, as we've discussed, the loot boxes and mechanics, that have been added to games over recent years is far more insidious and far more consumerist, but directly is linked to gambling rather than the video game itself.
Yeah.
But like you say, can certain games be more addictive than others? I mean, I suppose so, but it depends. Everyone likes different games. So,
I mean, look at your playtime for Dota.
Oh yeah, it's massive. I mean, that is over multiple years, though.
Yeah,
I didn't get 3,000 hours in a week. That's
no, of course not.
That's since 2011 or something. So it's a little bit different. But
yeah,
for instance, if you really like RPGs, are you going to be addicted to that because you are really invested in it and like the story? You really liked Breath of the Wild, does that mean that game's more addictive than another? Well, there are people that don't like Zelda, so they won't get addicted to that. So I don't know, unless it's designed in a specific way or they are adding mechanics. I don't know necessarily if games are more addictive than others, because people don't watch any old film for the sake of it or play any old film for the sake of it. You pick what you enjoy.
Yes.
And, you pick and choose. So I don't know whether you can just label video games are addictive. End of story. See you later. I don't think they're any more addictive than anything else potentially can be.
No, well, I think it's more that just you are, because you're actively involved and you are rewarded for your input. Not on the whole. So that obviously there are games like the more story-led game where it's a linear story. I don't really see how you could be addicted to that. You could be like, I want to finish this in a day, but it's not like you're going to go back and do it all over again. But something like your MMORPGs or your Destinies or whatever it is, which do offer you rewards for your input, I can understand why then that is different to, say, watching a film, because you're not going to be addicted to watching films because, well, there may very well be some people out there, but you're not actively involved, and it's interesting, isn't it, though, to talk about.
Yeah. And speaking of mechanics, there are actually daily rewards or rewards that build up because you logged in.
Yeah.
Chaining those days together. There are things like that could make people think, oh, you know what, I wasn't going to play today. I'm not really in the mood. But actually, there's that. If I don't do this, I'll lose my bonus.
Yeah. Well, that was even in Animal Crossing, which is, a game for kids. If you go and log into that computer every day, you get bonus Nook Miles. So it's like,
Nook Miles,
even games like that have a mechanic
in them
to draw you in. A little bit of crack. So that was probably in poor taste, considering we're talking about addiction. Once again, our dear sweet boy, our day one listener, Mr. Lawal Mohammed, has emailed in on the topic. Thank you very much, Lawal. We really appreciate it. And he's echoed that it's a serious topic, and the topic of gaming addiction, it can have far-reaching impacts on health and financial security. He said, though, however, I often find that due to some historical negative media portrayals of gamers, there can be an eagerness to point to games at the root cause. This also helps explain why, when speaking with a certain generation of gamer, they may well be reluctant to be identified as such, which kind of hits home at some of the stuff we were talking before about the negative perception of gaming and gamers. So he said, for example, stereotypical reclusive basement-dwelling loner of a gamer peeing in a cup suggested cause MMO-style games. Increased violence in school-aged children suggested cause violence in games. This always seems to happen. They seem to just, whenever we talk about stuff in the episode, we then read the listener feedback, and they've just echoed exactly what we've said.
Can I just point out the whole violence in children and stuff?
Yeah,
like films, games have age ratings on them, but for some reason, and this is straight up bad parenting, I don't apologize for saying this out loud. For some reason, a lot of parents will just ignore age rating on video games and buy them a GTA and buy them something that's 15 when they're 10 or something that's 18 when they're 13. And I don't really understand that. You wouldn't be able, or you wouldn't try or be able to get your kid into an 18 rated film yet. Parents will maybe it's just to shut them up because they know they'll have some peace and quiet when they're playing their Xbox.
I think there's part of that, and there's also the fear of the kid if he's not up with the times with the rest of the kids, because all of the other kids are playing the new GTA, but my son isn't playing it. He's going to get bullied. I don't want that to happen, or that kind of mindset. Like, there's all I can remember when I was at school, it was all about what school shoes you wore, and if someone didn't wear Clarks or whatever, you were a loser, and all this nonsense. So as in, I suppose that kind of thing, and like, oh, mum, please get me GTA. Everyone's got it. But like you said, they bloody shouldn't have it. Lawal continues, there are rare cases where compulsive players have died in front of their computer screen. But was the game the direct cause? When the vast majority of players are skillful, dedicated enthusiasts, like golfers, skiers, or film buffs, it seems to me that our lack of understanding of addiction and mental health issues in general is a far greater cause of problem than gaming. I'm just going to stop there. Lawal, you've nailed that. I think that was a really well put sentence. And yes, I totally agree. I think the understanding of mental health has come on leaps and bounds in the last 10, 15 years. But there's a hell of a long way to go. Agree. Ironically, games provide great insights into the subject of mental health in ways that no other medium could. Celeste would be my go-to recommendation. Also agree, Lawal, excellent game, beautifully told. But Kathy Rain, Tell Me Why, and many, many others besides continue to do great work. Note to self, despite the heavy subject matter, I want to play That Dragon Cancer. Yeah, that's an indie game that came back a few years ago, and it's about a person dealing with the death of a loved one from cancer, and it's a really nicely told interactive story that's quite trippy. It's done really, really well.
Not heard of it.
Yeah, it's very well thought of.
Okay.
But I can definitely attest to Celeste in terms of dealing with mental health. I would hugely recommend that.
Do you want me to finish the email?
Yeah, Mark, you go ahead and finish it.
So he wants to play The Dragon Cancers, where we left off. Currently playing Tell Me Why, which is an insightful portrayal of a trans character.
Yeah, playing that.
And What Remains of Edith Finch, which he's just put as a little side thing, unnerving. Sunset Overdrive, pros, joyous traversal, cons, dude bro heavy dialogue, must use the health regen amp. Interesting little...
Yeah, well, we already know your thoughts about Sunset. It's in the trailer for the show, is you pouring scathe on Sunset Overdrive.
Yes, incredibly average.
It's just... The issue is I think it's like he said, that 99% of people that play video games do not suffer from video game addiction. I mean, don't quote me on that data, but I've just, you get what I'm saying. But with anything in the world, there is a very small percentage of people that have severe mental health problems, and it manifests itself via that medium. And sadly, because there is like Lawal mentioned, there is a somewhat negative stance of video games and video gamers, then it becomes easy to point the finger at video games in general. Whereas you will, in no matter what field it is, there is always people who struggle. But yeah, people point the finger at video games as the cause when it not necessarily is.
Yeah, I think anybody that's suffering with depression or is struggling with anxiety and things like that, video games are an amazing retreat, and films can be as well. But with video games, you do have an element of control and interactivity, which other mediums don't offer you. And the main issue isn't necessarily the game itself, but the fact that you're sat down for a long time and being, potentially being reclusive. I play a lot of online games with friends, so I get a lot of social interaction with my video gaming. But if you genuinely are sat there in the dark playing for 8 hours a day, that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
And isn't good for anyone. So that could be, physically equally as bad, but from a mental health standpoint, if you're shutting yourself off and using it as an escape, does that still count as an addiction, or is it an escape from other issues in your life?
Well, I think if something becomes a release and escape, it can be a good thing. But if it's a coping mechanism, it's not necessarily a good thing.
The same as eating to deal with other problems in your life.
Yeah,
exactly. Too much of that is also bad for you.
Yeah, of course.
Too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing.
Our message, and I believe we're the first ones to ever say this, is everything in moderation. All things.
That's really good.
Thank you,
mate. Do you
think that's
really
good?
Inspired.
Thanks, man.
I think that's great, and I think that's a lovely place to leave the episode on something that we've got patented that is definitely ours and copyrighted under the Pushing Buttons label.
I've also recently been thinking about a phrase to do with eating an apple a day and that having some kind of positive outcome. But I'm not any further than that. I just like the concept of, eat an apple a day and something good will happen. But I'm not much further than that yet. So I'll think about it.
Okay. Yeah, get back to me.
I will. That's episode 12, baby!
Woo! Got a bit deep.
Got it deep.
Got a bit deep in the end.
I thought you just went, got it deep.
No, we got a bit deep.
We did, but I like it, man. I like showing all the sides to the Pushing Buttons coin and, letting ourselves be a bit vulnerable. And you never know, people might email in and, we could become we could help some people out, which would be really lovely. I am not afraid of talking about times in my life in which video games have helped me through things. So
or made it worse,
or potentially made it worse. I mean, my blood pressure definitely suffered while playing Dark Souls 1. Let's just say that. Episode 12 is in the can. Let's put the can on the shelf and leave it for someone to discover. Thank you so much to everybody that listened this week. We'll probably do another ep, do you reckon?
I think we'll come back to this. It's such a big subject that one day we'll probably come back to this and expand on it. I'd like
to think that some people might get in touch, and if they have any experiences or know anybody that has had experiences of it.
Listen, next, get in contact using pushingbuttonspod@gmail.com.
Do it!
About, your thoughts on addiction. Is it just a hobby for you? Have you looked back and thought, what? I remember this month where it was slightly awful and I had to break away or something. Let us know if you're willing. If you're willing to be vulnerable, you'd always be anonymous.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting to us. And also, we didn't have a new MLP, Most Valuable Listener, this week. So please do, get in contact. Let us know that you've told 5 people, and the first one gets a tasty, tasty jingle.
I've just been realised we've been calling it an MLP, which means most listener person.
Most listener person.
So we mean MVL.
Yeah, we do. MVL.
Most listener person. We need a new most listener person.
Most valuable listener.
Yeah.
MVL.
Yes.
We
screwed it. Yeah, we need someone to
tell them about our social media.
Yeah, well, just tell people. Follow us on social media on our Twitter, which is @PB Podcast UK, and on our Instagram @Pushing Buttons Pod.
Thanks for listening on Spotify, Apple Pod, YouTube, Deezer, Stitcher. We're on all of those, I think. So, look us up, find us, listen, continue listening. Watch the shapes really slowly moving in the background on the YouTube version, if that's what you're into.
And some say that if you open your window at night and listen very hard, you might just hear the sounds of 2 boys talking about video games. On the wind.
See you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Love you.